So the first thing we want to do is change the mobility. So at grade 1, I'm going to put my middle finger between 1 and 2, and just like in that diagram, I'm going to introduce a small amplitude oscillation. And I'm going to do it no more than 60 seconds. These joints are small and sensitive. We don't want to work for long periods of time. And that's going to start to do a lot of interesting things, but mainly on a neurological basis, not so much on a mechanical. I'm going to start to activate some of that proprioceptive input, which the segments need, which they lose if they're not moving properly. Maybe stimulating the gate control a little bit. Those proprioceptive afferents will close the spinal gate, maybe alleviate some of his symptoms. Grade 2, when he's ready, into the mid-range, but I'm still not stretching, so I'm pretty safe. I'm not going to flare him up. Grade 2, mid-range and back, larger amplitude, 30 to 60 seconds. If I want to do a grade 3 when he's ready, so now we're thinking moderate to low reactivity. At 1, 2, I'm between 1 and 2. I'm going to take him to the end of the range and halfway back, grade 3. And grade 4, I'm going to take him to the end of the range, and then I'm going to do a small amplitude at the end of the range, grade 4. Right? Now, I just made a mistake, which I'm going to use as a way of teaching you something important. I had my finger between 1 and 2 for a grade 1, and I had my finger between 1 and 2 for a grade 2, and I kept my finger between 1 and 2 for a grade 3 and for a grade 4. What's wrong with that picture? 3 and 4, I need to do something different. Because with 3 and 4, I'm now going to be moving against the resistance, and I'm going to be stretching tissue. If I just keep my finger in the interspinous space, what's going to happen to 2? It's going to move on 3, right? So I'm not going to have a very good mobilizing influence of 1, 2, because 2 is going to move. If I want to have a good mobilizing force of 1, 2, I've got to hold 2. Agree with that? So you've got to hold 1, move 1. I have to have mobility on stability. This in the interspinous space is not stability. So I need to get underneath 2. So I'm going to flex him down so I get underneath the spinous of 2. And now I'm going to hold it in place and provide a block. And I'm going to move 1 on 2 to the end of range and halfway back for a 3, and then 1 on 2 to the end of range, small amplitude for a grade 4. So for my grade 3s and 4s, I have to provide a block. With 1s and 2s, I don't. With 1s and 2s, I can just be in the interspinous space because I'm not going against the resistance. But when I get to a grade 3 or grade 4, I'm going to come up into flexion, come underneath, hold it there, so that 2 doesn't move on 3. The buck stops here. I don't let 2 move. So 1 is forced to move on a fixed 2. You see that? 2 is made to move on a fixed 3. So for 3s and 4s, I've got to block something. Now, keep in mind the mechanics change, so for 1 and 2, I can use a straight linear motion. For 3 and 4, I have to use this angular motion. So I'm now 1, 2, 2, 3. I get down to 3, 4. For a 1, 2, I'm good. 2, 3, for grade 2, at this level, I'm still good. But for a grade 3 and a grade 4, I'm going to flex them, get underneath. So I'm at what, 3, 4? I'm going to block 4, come up, and now grade 3, and overturn. Rich was being a little bit irritated by this because I think he was going too far. So retract and then just overturn a little bit until you bump into it. So the idea for a grade 3 and a grade 4 is you've got to get underneath it. So you flex first, get in position, and then come back, and you've got to hold the bottom vertebra. So for T3, 4, I hold 4. For T4, 5, I have to hold 5. And when I'm at 1 and 2, it's straight linear. And when I'm at 3 and 4, it's linear and then overturn in order to get the closure of the facet. And again, you have to think about the reactivity. If it's high reactive, don't go into the resistance. They're not ready yet. Take care of the pain first. And there's a lot of good. Don't underestimate the value of grade 1s and 2s. A lot of these joints have never informed the brain of anything other than pain, pain, pain. You start to send that input up to the brain, movement, movement, movement. Feels good, feels good, feels good. It relaxes the area. You get this neurologic effect. You start getting the reflex control back into the area of the deeper local system. A big problem with a lot of spinal joints is they lack normal proprioceptive input from these chronically sore, inflamed tissues. They're getting nociception, but they're not getting proprioception. So you start to introduce movement that's pain-free, that's very, very powerful to the system. So don't underestimate that, right?